That's a really fascinating point. For instance, electric vehicles. And you need to look at the, all the different aspects. So pollution, great. Nothing comes out of the exhaust. That's good. But yes, you have other aspects, in the life cycle. So there is also a lot of disinformation, because you understand in Germany, I always say its state goal is that the car industry builds more cars, sells more cars. So whenever it's not surprising that Germany has a lower electric vehicle rate than, let's say, Norway. Yeah. Norway doesn't have a car industry they protect. So, they're happy to innovate and go with a more efficient technology. Germany, as everyone can witness, there is a lot of protectionism, open and disguised, and a lot of lobbying, disinformation. And maybe it's a good moment to say, I may every now and then sound very one-sided. I don't think I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I have a very biased look, especially when I talk about the car industry. It's important to know, though, I'm born in Stuttgart, home of Mercedes, Porsche, Bosch, and so on. I worked at publishers in Stuttgart that does, Auto, Motor und Sport. I worked at Mercedes when I was still in school. I did an internship at BMW. Like, I'm as car infected. I was at car fairs when I was a child. I'm as car infected, and I'm also, I'm fascinated by the technology and so on. Yeah. It's not like I'm
against
different.
Cars, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sticking with this EV electric vehicle example, you realize, for example, then, pollution from the exhaust is less of a topic. Life cycle is another. You have to look at the numbers closely. If you're looking at honest numbers, you see, okay, the overall life cycle of an electric vehicle is still more favorable, and the use of energy is way more efficient, obviously. So, all the rational arguments are for an electric vehicle. But then, for instance, we call it Reifenabrieb, the abrasion, I guess it's called in English, of the tires. It's something very underestimated, but there are microplastic rubber particles in the air everywhere, including in unborn, in the blood of unborn children, and so on. Is like literally everywhere, because these particles are so small, and in our lungs, they're cancerous, and so on and so forth. So even though it's a different engine, the car still creates very much of the same problems. And so it's important to have that debate about electric vehicles. But if you zoom out, you realize the overall number of cars might be the more important lever. And so looking at, for example, carpooling, people, we have between 1.0 something in commuters and 1.4 average Besetzungsgrad. I don't know the term in English. I guess amount of people in a car. Yeah. So the norm is that one person alone drives a car, and that's horrible in terms of efficiency of use of energy,
space,
exactly. We have 1.1 or 1.2 million parking lots in Berlin, and that's just the public parking in the streets. That doesn't include the inner courtyard parking or the parking garages, private. It's really the public parking in the streets. And the space is, I did the math, because the Senate published a couple months ago, published this number. It equals 4.5 times the Tempelhofer Feld. 4.5 times. The entire Tempelhofer Feld, just parkings.
Okay. Yeah.
Imagine that amount of cars. That is the car fleet of Berlin. And I like to have, just as a thought model, having more people in one car would be a great thing. But then the other dimension is that cars stand 23 hours a day. So they're not Fahrzeuge, they're Stehzeuge. Even at peak hour, they're never more than 10% of the entire fleet rolling.
Yeah.
And that's just mind-boggling. It means that, between 90 and 97% of the cars are not used. I mean, imagine that with the aviation fleet. That
Very
all
inefficient.
these all these expensive vehicles
Mhm.
are just standing around, or with the cruise ship, or whatever, seafaring vessels fleet.